So, the fundamental mechanism of capitalism. And to begin, let us ask, how would you know enough is being produced? Well, seemingly if there was overproduction and a part of production is unsold, you have too many goods, prices are going to fall because you want to try and get rid of it. Now, if there's a reverse and you have a scarcity, well, you're going to see prices rise. If everyone wants a Mercedes and you don't have enough of them, well, prices are going to go up. And the movement in prices is the barometer telling us whether there is scarcity or plenty. And it's really only after the fact that we can find out whether the quantity of labor expended in an industry was done in a necessary way or whether it was wasted. In other words, whether we produce too much or too little. And it's only after the event that we can determine the exact value of a commodity. And this value, so-called, is really an abstraction. But it is the constant around which prices fluctuate. So what causes a movement in prices, and thus in longer terms, movement in values, in labor productivity, in production, and in overall economic life? So let us go back to what makes capitalism function? What answers those questions above? Well, competition for one. If you have no competition, you have no capitalism. And I'm not going to talk about monopoly capitalism here, except to say that under monopoly capitalism, you still have competition, but it's at a different extreme. It's at a different degree. And without competition, there would be no major economic motive for accumulating capital and for carrying out the operations which capitalists carry out. So if they're not competing, they may not improve their machinery. They may not displace workers and bring in new machinery to increase productivity. So what is the basis of competition? Well, 1, an unlimited market. No restrictions or boundaries. Trade, buy, and sell anywhere and everywhere. 2, multiple decision centers, or rather multiple capitalists, multiple firms, multiple enterprises, all of course exploiting workers and reaping the fruit of their labor. And if all production in a given sector is really in the hands of a single firm, there is still capitalism because there is still an unlimited market. So, for instance, if everyone in the state of Wyoming, or if all the industry in Wyoming is owned by a single capitalist, there's still going to be competition because there's an unlimited market. There are going to be capitalists from Idaho. There are going to be capitalists from Colorado. And they're going to compete. And the struggle between this sector and others. So if that capitalist, let's say, controls the textile industry, they're still going to be competing with capitalists from other industries and further to capture that market. And furthermore, there's always the possibility of foreign competition. Capitalists are the same blood-sucking scumbags everywhere. And the reverse is true. With a limited market, with many enterprises are fighting, then competition still survives. They may be fighting over a smaller pie, but they're still fighting, they're still competing. And capitalism needs an unlimited market. It needs competition. And the passage from a limited market to an unlimited market goes back to the commercial revolution of the 16th century in Europe. And I don't want to go into that in depth here, but to say that initially we had a market in a certain sense around trade in luxury goods. Luxury goods, of course, would be bought by a small few. That Mercedes, for example, would only be bought by a very select clientele. But from an unlimited market, a limited market in just a few luxury goods, we go from an unlimited market in unlimited goods to mass consumer goods, so the very necessities of life, food, clothing, shelter, it's all being sold on the marketplace. So this trade in a mass number of consumer goods goes forever, and it goes to an ever-increasing portion of the population. So initially capitalism develops in England, and you have English production producing mass consumer goods for the English population, but capitalism needs to expand. It needs to engulf even more people, even more branches of production into its net, into its claws. So you not only have the production of more goods for more people, but you have the whole system being expanded until it encompasses the whole earth, as it were. and to sell these goods, to make sure that everyone can go to a McDonald's, everyone can buy the latest fads, the latest necessities of life, is it brings with it capitalism to develop this market to ensure that goods can reach who it needs to. We have the development of railroads, better ships, phones, computers, etc., etc. And it makes possible for the real potential market, that this potential market is real for every capitalist. And this idea of a limited market doesn't merely mean geographic expansion, but economic expansion, and therefore increasing the available purchasing power of the working class or the population to whatever limited degree as it can. And in some advanced capitalist countries, we see bigger firms producing more. So instead of producing a car by hand slowly as it was initially done, we have the assembly line, these huge factories producing millions of cars. And we have, not so much anymore, but at one time you had wages which were relatively higher so that ordinary people could buy these goods that were mass produced, so that there could be a market for them. And this production for unlimited market during competitive capitalism, it results in increased production. And as production increases, it allows for a reduction in costs and allows for capitalists to beat competitors by underselling them. So that capitalist who is producing that car by hand, slowly and methodically, yeah, they're probably going to get a good price, but someone who can produce lots of cars on an assembly line is going to produce them cheaper, more efficiently, and they're going to damn well be able to undersell their competitor. And to be fair, it is, again, the working class that produces all this labor that is expropriated by the blood-sucking capitalist class. And we look at certain goods, whether computers or phones, which have decreased in value during the past few years, and we can see that production has improved, production has become more efficient, and it has allowed these goods to be sold cheaper to create an ever larger market for computers or phones. Just to name two examples, you can name others, of course. And the growth in labor productivity in the means of production means a reduction in value of goods, since these goods are manufactured with a reduced quantity of labor time. And this is how the capitalist enlarges its markets and defeats its competitors. And the capitalist can cut production costs and simultaneously increase production by developing mechanization, by improving the means of production, by building mechanical instruments of labor, i.e., replace old computers with faster ones. This is how capitalism functions, through competition, through creating a world market, through constant improving of the means of production, through cheapening the instruments of labor. But as we all know, there is a much, much, much darker side to it.